And that's why it's getting hot, I can feel the heat. It's too cold, I can feel the street. I'm just trying to make it through the day, not in my head trying to feel the beat. I'm trying to feel the beat. I'm trying to feel the beat. I'm trying to feel the beat. I gotta feel the beat. I'm trying to feel the beat. I just wanna feel the beat. I'm trying to feel the beat.
Feel the beat. It's unfortunate, but over the last 72 hours, 343 people in the United States have fallen victim to gun violence. Is now a good time to talk about gun reform?
The George Croom Experience, presented by Ad Closure, the secret agent of top agents. Is your home being marketed or is it just listed? Tell your agent you want Ad Closure marketing to help sell your home faster.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the George Croom Experience. I hope all of you had an amazing Thanksgiving holiday. I hope you all came back not eating too much. I'm sure some of you did. I did. I ate entirely too much, and running and lifting must commence immediately because I destroyed myself last week. I did. Glad there was no Thanksgiving resolution because I would have broken that. I went in. And I enjoyed myself, and I'm hoping you did too. And we're going to get back after it, just like we're getting back after this show. But first, let's pay some bills, like we always do. The George Croom Experience is presented by Ad Closure, the secret agent of top agents. Talk to your agent about adding Ad Closure marketing and sell your home quicker. We're going to do something different today. We're going to talk to the interstellar woman of mystery. She didn't know it. She has no clue this is coming, but I'm going to ask her. I'm going to make her talk. I'm going to make her talk outside of just reading things to us. Hey, Kat, how was Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving was great. I was able to go back home to see my family. We went to my aunt and uncle's house, and my cousins all brought their families, so we had 6 children there and like 11 adults. It was a lot of fun. We had 2 15-pound turkeys. And I'm just really grateful that everyone was able to get together and have a safe, happy holiday. And I hope yours was equally amazing.
All right, so Kep just told us she had 2, count them, 2 15-pound turkeys. And I'm going to have to know more about that, Kev. We got to keep the show moving. I'm going to need to know more about that at some point. We're going to ask about that. We're going to open that back up. We got a full week. We'll recover. This will be our recovery. Me and you will talk about this 15-pound turkey situation and some more stuff throughout this week, and that'll be our way of recovering from Thanksgiving before we move on to Christmas, the daunting task of Christmas. Bring us in, Kev.
The U.S. Soccer Federation made one small step for the women of Iran ahead of tomorrow's matchup against the Iranian national team.
So good on the U.S. Soccer Federation. Their Twitter account, they removed the emblem that's located in the middle of the Iranian flag. And I'll try to see if we have it to show you. Okay, there it goes. So they removed the emblem that was in the middle of the Iranian flag on their Twitter account this week, in order to show solidarity for the women in Iran and the protesters in Iran who are protesting against the government for women's rights. Now, this whole protest was kicked off on September the 16th, and that was because a young lady, 22 years old, by the name of Mahsa Amini, she was arrested by the morality police. She was beaten, and they have it on camera, and she died. She died as a result of being arrested because they arrested her because they said her hijab was not being worn properly. And really all that most say was wrong, quote unquote wrong, was that she had on a sleeveless top. This woman lost her life because she was wearing a sleeveless top. We'll break all of that open, but like the Iranian government said they're going to file a formal complaint to the morality committee of FIFA against the U.S. for putting up this flag on their Twitter account because they said that it was offensive to them. It was offensive to them enough that they're going to file a complaint. And I feel like FIFA is probably going to award sanctions to the United States for putting that flag up on the grounds that they're going to say that it was immoral or whatever. Because FIFA is feckless. FIFA has a bunch of leaders who are not leaders, who are beholden to the money around the world, like that in Qatar, like that in Iran, that they're not going to tell these people, especially these Arab nations who have shown the propensity to discriminate against women. They're not going to tell them that they won't sanction the US for putting this flag up. This is the same FIFA that said they were going to penalize any player that stepped onto the pitch with a One Love armband on to start the tournament. And that symbolized anti-discrimination, that symbolized inclusion and diversity. So you think that they're going to not sanction the US because the US went out here and made that much of a statement? And then let's break open the fact that Iran said that the US removed God from their flag, and that act was lawless and immoral. Like Iran said that removing this emblem symbolized the removal of God and that it was lawless and immoral. And you can call me godless if you want, but when I interpret my Bible, the one that I've learned from since I was a child, it said that Adam was created first, and then God took a rib from Adam to create Eve. Now, when he took that rib, he wasn't making a hole in Adam. What he was doing is he saw a hole in Adam. He removed that hole, made a whole being in order to fill Adam. He filled Adam with a partner, with someone that was his equal, not someone that Adam could rule. That's not how God works, as far as I understand. You can call me godless. You can say I don't understand the Bible, whatever. I'm telling you that I don't feel that Adam was being filled with something that was unequal to him. And I mean, we can talk about God, but anytime you interpret a religious text to mean that women and women alone don't have the right of self-governance, don't have the right of free will, then you have lost moral high ground as far as I'm concerned. You've lost it. There's no moral high ground for you in that situation. We can talk about God, but when you live in and accept a country where women only have rights if that right is given to them by men, then God has been removed from the equation. You have become God. And at that time, you have set yourself up to not exist. You have set your country up to not be whole. And that goes for you too, America. Bring us in, Cap.
Cleveland proves that it's still the house where sadness lives.
All right, so this one's funny to me. So it used to be that, and I don't think it is anymore. I don't think it is anymore. But there used to be a time when you could go on to Google and you could search, where does sadness live? And it would bring up Cleveland, Ohio. Right or wrong, it would bring up Cleveland, Ohio. Mostly it was because they hadn't won a championship in so long. And thankfully, LeBron came along, changed that trajectory. Thank you, LeBron, for taking sadness away for the moment for Cleveland. But then you get a story like this, where last week a person jumped the fence at Cleveland Browns Stadium, opened up a box, took some scarves that were branded, and then was able to drive his vehicle in the stadium, do donuts around the field that the Cleveland Browns play on that were visible this week during their game, drive donuts around their field, and then leave. Rolled out. Was not caught. We still don't know where this guy is. Yo, who's watching the kids? Who is that? Who's your security? You know what? That's where sadness lives. Cleveland Browns Stadium is still where sadness lives, because if you have a security or a security system that are so faulty that during the week you can't keep a driver from getting onto your field and doing donuts in the grass before he leaves without being caught, yo, that's where sadness lives. I'm sorry, Cleveland. It's still you. We'll be right back.
Give thanks for the extension of a student loan repayment freeze, even if you haven't been forgiven. More of the George Croom experience coming after the break.
G1 Commercial is a proud sponsor of the George Croom experience. Stay tuned, because more is coming up after this break.
What is an asset-based lending philosophy? An asset-based lending philosophy focuses on assets instead of income. Let me explain. A traditional mortgage requires the borrower to prove they make enough income to cover their mortgage payment and all other debts. The amount of your income used to pay your debt is limited to somewhere around 50%. This means that if your debt is greater than the maximum debt-to-income ratio, your loan is denied. An asset-based loan doesn't use your income to qualify. It uses the property securing the loan and its ability to generate cash flow or appreciation as the primary qualifier. In a nutshell, G1 Commercial Mortgage is a bank alternative mortgage finance company for real estate investors. If you get denied by a bank or do not want to go through the traditional bank underwriting process, give us a call.
All right, welcome back to the George Croom Experience. It is the first show back from Thanksgiving, and I'd like to thank you all first and foremost for being a part of the show. This is episode number 5 now at this point, and it's been fun. It's been a labor of love. It's been fun, and I hope to continue this, and I hope you continue watching for a long time to come. And I'm gonna try to keep improving, show after show. I want to wow you over and over again. So here we go.
The president has extended the federal student loan repayment freeze, but can the courts forgive and forget?
So President Biden extended the student loan repayment freeze to June 30th of 2023, or 60 days past the Supreme Court's ruling that says that what he did, forgiving all of these federal student loans, was a legal thing to do. If you haven't been following it, if you happen to be a person that doesn't have student loans, and God bless you for that, that's awesome. But for those people like myself that have federal student loans, my federal student loans are being paid for. I'm a National Guard soldier. When I signed up, they said they would pay for 90% of it. And I was so happy that my service in the United States Armed Services was going to pay for my student loans. It was one of the things that actually prompted me to do it at the age of 32. And I don't mind doing that because I also wanted to serve my country. But for some, that's not an option. For some people, they went to school to better themselves. And let me just say this. The U.S. government should not be in the business of collecting interest from Americans for money used to better themselves. Mark what I say. They should not be collecting interest. Now, if you took out a federal loan, do I believe you should pay it back? Sure. If there's a program that allows it to be forgiven, say for public service, amazing, because I think public servants don't get enough. So giving them something back in the way of some student loan forgiveness, I think is a good thing. But if we're going to if we want to have slogans that say things like "Make America Great Again," well, in order to make America great, you have to have great Americans. And a part of being a great American is bettering yourself, and a part of bettering yourself in this country is being able to go to college so that you can get the education needed to get a job that ultimately advances our country, that advances our interests. Educated people are able to create things and push America forward. So the federal government should not be in the business of penalizing you for doing things that are going to push the government and the country forward. That's wrong. That's poor policy. Notwithstanding that we had a bunch of people in Congress who own businesses, and during the pandemic, they had their payment protection program loans forgiven. Now, some will say, oh, it's a different thing. Like we were creating jobs and those jobs. Well, cool. If we're going to say that, cool. I will take that argument from the mostly GOP representatives who want to say we were creating jobs and we were keeping jobs available during the pandemic, so we shouldn't have to pay back those loans. That's not money. That's different. We're creating jobs. Well, cool. Then if you don't want people to pay, if you want people to pay back loans and not be forgiven, at least for the interest, if you can't even say that those people, then you shouldn't be able to have the loans forgiven for anybody that you employed that has a federal loan that is being repaid. How about that? We'll make that compromise. But that's not going to fly either, because they're still going to go back to this whole we create jobs. Well, apparently the federal government created people that you could hire to advance your interests. And I'm struggling because some of these are not essential businesses. Some of them are restaurants. Cool. And I'll say that during the pandemic, restaurants were essential. It was hard to go to the grocery store. We went to the restaurant, like we ordered a lot. So restaurants that were open, if you got money for that, cool. If you are a car dealership, we were on lockdown for a lot of the year of 2020. Why did a car dealership, who, by the way, most of the people working in a car dealership are working on commission and not getting paid a normal paycheck, why did they need paycheck protection program loans? Why? It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't compute. So a lot of these people who say that people don't need this forgiveness, we went through a national emergency. And that's what the HEROES Act, the thing that President Biden evoked for the rationale of giving back this forgiveness. The HEROES Act was created after 9/11 for soldiers who were fighting in Afghanistan to come back and they could have their student loans forgiven for that service. And it was said that it would only be evoked during a national emergency. Well, I would say that the pandemic was a national emergency for us. No, these people were not soldiers, but we all had to fight our way through the pandemic. I mean, me as a soldier, I'm looking at it, I'm saying to you, if we're not fighting for American freedoms like that, we should not be charging the American people for making America better. If for nothing else, forgive their interests. Because nobody should be paying back a federal loan for 30 and 40 years because interest keeps getting tacked on. It makes it impossible to pay back. And it oftentimes is keeping them in poverty. We'll be right back.
We'll reevaluate privilege and entitlement from the perspective of gun reform, next on the George Croom Experience.
Wait, bruh. Shouldn't every video your team puts out draw an emotion? Take the viewer on a journey. And highlight your markets as places they can live and call home.
Are you a real estate investor? Were you denied for a loan or looking for something other than the traditional bank underwriting process? Contact G1 Commercial today at 443-944-6103. Now for more of the George Croom Experience, presented by Ad Closure.
My name is George Croom and I am a gun owner. I start that way because what I'm about to say will be scrutinized by both gun owners and non-gun owners. Gun owners will call me a crazy liberal, and I'll reiterate that I'm a gun owner and nobody is entitled to take my guns. Non-gun owners will say that I don't care about lives. However, the majority of my guns are to protect my family at home. One, my M4 AR-15 style assault rifle is owned for the sole purpose of practicing because I am a deployable soldier in the U.S. Armed Forces and I don't get enough opportunities to shoot the style of weapon that I'd be given to protect myself and my team if I were sent to war. There will be yet another class of non-gun owners that feel, and rightfully so, that the system doesn't want them to be legal gun owners, and therefore are presented with roadblocks to prevent them from protecting themselves and their families. These people live in black and brown communities who, if you take the media's portrayal, are the ones we need to protect ourselves from. My final thought will speak to this issue the entire week, but here is the first takeaway. We need gun reform because we can't have laws that provide life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness to select minorities without restriction or regulation. Every day, hundreds of American dreams are terminated at the end of a gun barrel. Every day, efforts to end that tragedy are shot down by people who regard gun violence as the price of freedom. Be good to each other. See you tomorrow.